Hey everybody, I'm KK.
I'm Kristen.
Welcome back to K&K Crochet. So this week we've kind of talked about some things that we've learned throughout the week as we were making projects, and as I was making this one, which is being shown in 2 videos this week because I want to talk to you about it. As I was making this corner to corner baby Afghan, I got to thinking about some of the ways that I process. We've talked about how I came across this ability to create the graph through an app, but I'm also going to talk about what to do when you're not comfortable with that, or other ways that you can research and find already created graphs, because I had to make that one, that you don't have to do any work for. Okay, so when I first started doing corner to corner, one of the things that I really liked about corner to corner was when I could make pictures out of them. So animals, words, whatever. But I definitely didn't feel capable to do that. I did later on go on to design one square for my Christmas Afghan, and it was the little red truck. And I did design that. I don't even know if I still have that design. I could probably do it again. But yeah, from a picture I could do it, but because I have the picture already saved somewhere. But it's not difficult for me any longer, I think, because math is my background, so that's kind of where I go with that. But you can figure out how to do anything just from a picture, usually that's already graphed out like that, and you can find those in surprising places that really don't have anything to do with crochet. Now, first of all, you can Google Graphgan C2C, whatever you want to do, giraffe, heart, rainbow, whatever. And usually you're going to find those. And again, when you Google, I would click images so that you can see all the images. And then you can go and look and see if there's a pattern for that, so you can get some kind of an idea. Even if there's not a pattern, if you can find a graph that is pixelated out, which means that there's color in all the little tiny graph or squares, then you can make a C2C with that. Each square would be one C2C block. So you have to be careful, though, because you might find one that's 20 by 20, which means it's probably going to only turn out to be less than 20 inches tall by 20 inches wide. That's not going to be a blanket. It's going to be a square. Now, you can put those together if you like to sew squares together, and you can make an Afghan that way. Or you can keep looking until you find one that says it's a blanket, or you could try and manipulate those squares and make them bigger. I've done that in the past. I won't try to describe how to do it because it was a lot of trial and error for me. And yeah, whatever. I think I tried to do multiples, like each square would equal so many, each color square would equal so many squares of the corner to corner. And so that was a process to do that and draw it out. You can also, you can Google for the blankets, of course, Pinterest, Ravelry, all that kind of stuff too. And like I said, I generally say it's 1 inch for every block of corner to corner. Yours may differ depending on the hook size you use, the yarn you use, your tension. You may not get quite 1 inch, so you might want to measure, do a corner to corner swatch, and measure what just one of the blocks is in height, so that you can tell, is it going to be approximately 1 inch? And that's just an estimation for me, so I can kind of know what to do. I also found, while I was looking through, a website called lovableloops.com. And Lovable Loops, I'll put the link down below. They have lots of animal C2C. Some are squares, some are blankets. There's animals, holidays, seasons. Anything you could want is probably on there. I found lots on there. And that wasn't something that I had used before. One of the ones I have used before is Repeat Crafter Me, and that's Sarah Zimmerman, and most of you know her from the Crochet Critter book and all the different things that she's done. Her page is amazing. Her website's amazing. She's done a lot of different projects, patterns. This past year she did gnomes in C2C, and it was squares and then or rectangles, and you sewed them all together. So she has a lot of ideas too if you need inspiration or are looking for something in particular. Also, there's a website called braceletbook.com, and when you go to braceletbook.com, it's just what it says. It is a website to show you how to make bracelets out of beads and that sort of thing. But a lot of those can be translated into blankets if you use a square of C2C for every dot of color. Now some of these are wide bands like you might use to add to the top and the bottom of an afghan that you have. Maybe a regular afghan that you crochet back and forth and you want to add this band of color to the top or bottom. Some of them are actually look big enough to be a square or a blanket based on the number of squares that are given. So it's always good to go in there and look at the different color combinations too. We were talking before this week about color combinations and what goes together. Braceletbook.com has a lot of things that would help you with that color palette and with looking at graphs and what you might want to do. Also, if you see those, you can crochet side to side instead of corner to corner. If the lines are side to side like this, you can do crochet side to side and just assign a number of stitches per each block so that you have the width that you need to have. So if you have 10 blocks across in your color graph that they give you, and you want your blanket, let's say, to be, let's say, 50 inches across, then you would need to have 5 inches of crochet for each one of those color blocks across. So you need to figure out how much crochet gives you 5 inches, and that would be what you would do for each block of color, and see if that would work out for you. You can also look for cross stitch patterns. They do the same thing, right? It's X's in boxes for color. Now again, you're going to get a small square, or, you know, if it's a bigger pattern, you might get something bigger, but maybe small squares are what you want. Maybe you want squares of animals that you want to sew together to make a baby afghan. Look for a cross stitch pattern, and maybe you'll find a cross stitch pattern, or maybe you want shapes. If you find a cross stitch pattern, then you could do a simple cross stitch pattern, but do it in C2C, and that way you would be able to use one block for each square, and it would make it bigger, and you would have your pattern. These are all things that take practice and time to look at and see, or maybe they're just for inspiration to give you an idea of what you want to do. And if you're capable, you could graph your own, right, based on the colors that you see. And also, one last thing I thought about is quilt patterns. When you look at quilt patterns, a lot of times quilts are in geometric shapes, and that way you can go back and so that you can sew the seams together. So you can go back and look at color palettes that way, but you can also go back and look for graphghans if you wanted to make something that looked like a quilt or something specific. Go back and look at quilt patterns and see if maybe there is a quilt pattern, especially if the crochet pattern you want to do is one that is a geometric shape, you know, that has the squares and the triangles and everything like that. A lot of times you can go find a quilt pattern that will show you the blocks and how to put them together, and then you could figure out from there how you wanted to do your C2C. So all of those are some things that you can use to look up C2C to try and find it. You can always just Google C2C crochet heart and see what you get, and you'll end up probably with squares instead of blankets. But you can always take the basic geometric shape, how they work the shape out, and just blow it up bigger on your graph and draw it out yourself, because the edging is what you need to worry about, right? So just think about that and look at those patterns and see what you can come up with for yourself. The ideas and the solutions are unlimited. You just need to think outside the box a little bit instead of saying, you know, well, I can only look here, I can only look here. There are lots of places we can look, and I found that out the hard way when I couldn't find what I needed. So, what about you? You like C2C or no?
I like C2C. There's many different opportunities and things you can make with it.
Have you made one before?
I made the pumpkin wall hanging.
Yeah. And didn't you do a baby blanket that was C2C? I can't remember.
Yeah, I did a baby blanket. It was C2C. It was blue, purple, and pink.
Now, did you have a graph for the pumpkin, or did you go look for it? Or did you make your own?
I made my own.
So it was black and orange, and it had a stem, and so you just used graph paper and drew out what she wanted. If you can do, and a lot of times you can also look up, when you Google, you can look up pixel graphs, Pixel, and that's all a graphghan is for C2C. It's a pixel graph. It's a pixelated graph of what you want. And most of the time you can find lots of things that way too. Pixel graphs have been my go-to for a long time, because they're used for a lot of things. A lot of times they're even used for, like, what are those beads called that you always played with when you were little?
Oh, I have no idea what
the
they're
melty
called.
Beads or whatever.
Like, you melt them with the iron. You have to put them on this little board.
Put them on a graph based on the color chart.
And then
you make a picture.
Iron them with the iron.
And then they stick together like a little ornament.
So, yeah.
And so it's the same kind of thing. You can translate that into a C2C graph. All you have to do is do the C2C one one C2C block per each block of color and follow the graph chart. That's all you have to do. And you'll have the same kind of pattern come out. So there are lots of graphs that you can use. That's all C2C is a color graph or a color chart of a picture. That's all you need to do. And I wonder about diamond painting too. Of course, some of that is a little more in depth. It's got lots of colors. But if you found an easy one that did not have all the different shades of blues and you know how they all change like that, if you found an easy starter one, like maybe for kids or something, I bet you could turn it into a C2C.
Probably.
Yeah. So anyway, just some food for thought. Let us know down below. Have you made a C2C? Have you made a C2C that was a graphgan that had the color picture? It made a picture of an animal or something when you were done. I've seen beautiful ones that made real life pictures of people. Oh my goodness. I don't know how they did that. It's gorgeous. Yeah, gorgeous. I think you can actually send off and send your picture and somebody will make the graph for you and you can then get it back in crochet. Oh my goodness. Beautiful. So you can do easy or you can do difficult, whatever you want to do. But let us know down before, have you made a corner to corner afghan? Then have you made one that was a graphgan that was actually a picture of something? It wasn't just colors, put together. And do you struggle with that? And is there one in particular that you're looking for that you haven't found? Maybe somebody can help you. And while we're talking about color, there is one thing that I am looking for. I am looking for a Karen Cake Shadowberry for a friend of mine. Maybe you guys know her. Esmeralda from God Rocks 2107. So if you have one, let me know. Contact me so that we can get in touch and we can get that to her so that she can finish a project. Anyway, guys, be kind. Don't forget that you don't know anybody else's journey. Do something this week to make their journey better. Do something this week to make your journey better. We love you. Have a blessed week. Bye.
Bye.